periods.
Yeah, so the show takes place, at least the first season, that pilot. By the end of basically in the pilot, you have these three unrelated that are seemingly unrelated storylines of these families, and what you find out at the end is that they're all part of the same family, and the stories are being told in different decades, but you have no idea because a lot of the shots from the 70s that you see are very close up. And so you don't get a sense of what people are wearing, or you don't get a sense of the environment they're around that would give it away that it's the 70s. And so the challenge in the score was making sure that that I found a sound that was kind of timeless, that could live in multiple decades. And there were transitions that were happening, and as the season progressed, these transitions that were happening between the 70s, the 80s, the 70s and the 80s to today, or the 70s and to the 90s to today, and the music had to live in all the different decades. That was one challenge, and I remember the network studio saying to me, "How are we going to sell people on these transitions going back in time, forward in time, because we jump cut a lot and it happens so frequently." And so I opted for something kind of atmospheric that would help get us through the scene, get us through the transitions. And then by the second episode, I completely abandoned all of that because I felt it was cooler to just have the audience kind of figure out on their own. The character development was so strong, the characters were so strong that we didn't need to really sell with like cheesy kind of stuff taking you back in time and forward in time. It felt schlocky, cheesy. And so the sound I went for was what I discovered by reading the script, that this 6-minute piece of music I sent to Dan, and it was very acoustic based, and a lot of my influence is Nick Drake on this score, and a lot of open, weird tunings, cello, vocal. Is a lot of the score of this show, and we found that kind of really worked. And the other thing too on the show is that it's a very emotional show, and the writing is really beautiful, the acting is beautiful, but the performances are, I mean, people watch the show and they cry a lot watching the show. And the kind of expected approach would have been go with a little more sweeping kind of orchestral kind of approach to something. People at the studio were saying we want something big, and I pushed back a little bit, saying that if we did that, it might make the show schmaltzier, you know, and so I kind of opted for something more subtle with the score, and it seemed to work for everybody.